Hello everyone, it's USI, our devoted storytellers from TV Day's Drama Digest channel. The ones who live, breathe, and occasionally lose sleep over every heartbeat, every betrayal, and every whispered secret that flickers across the screens of Salem. We've been with you through the phoenix-like resurrections, the amnesia plots that somehow always hit on Valentine's Day, and the endless carousel of who's the daddy, paternity twists. But today we're stepping into a darkness so thick you can almost smell the gun oil, and taste the copper tang of danger on the air. Pull the curtains, lock the doors, and silence your phones. Because we are about to dissect the single most explosive development to hit days of our lives and years, Sami Brady's new man. Dante Vitali, name that rolls off the tongue like velvet soaked in venom, in the chilling revelation that he is neck deep in the mafia. Yes, you heard that right. Mafia. Not the watered down, I smuggled designer handbags variety, but the real, bone-crushing, blood oath, Sicilian-rooted Vitali crime family. Strap in because this is going to be a long, winding, heart-pounding ride through the shadows of Salem, and by the time we're done, you'll be checking under your own bed for a horse's head. Let's start where every great tragedy begins, with a single question that detonates like a grenade. In the DiMera living room, EJ DiMera, Sami's on-again, off-again husband, the man who has faked his own death more times than most people change their socks, corners Sami, in that opulent mausoleum of a mansion, and demands, voice trembling with equal parts fury and fear, "Have you lost your bloody mind?" The words hang in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Sami, ever the wildfire in human form, tosses her blonde mane, squares her shoulders, and fires back with the kind of defiance that can make a lesser man spontaneously combust. Donnie has nothing to do with that world, EJ. Nothing. Oh, Sami. Sweet, reckless, hurricane-hearted Sami. How many times have we heard that line before? How many times has Salem's resident chaos agent sworn that this time, this man, this moment, this impossible love is different? And how many times has the universe answered with a thunderclap of betrayal? But let's not rush past the name, because names in Salem are never just names, they're prophecies, curses, and occasionally the combination to a safe full of bearer bonds. Dante Vitali. Say it slowly. Let it settle on your tongue. Day like the poet who mapped the 9 circles of hell. Vitali like the infamous crime dynasty that has been leaving bullet-riddled calling cards across the continents for the better part of a century. And make no mistake, this is not some distant, third cousin voice removed connection that Sami can wave away with a flick of her manicured hand. Dante's blood, bone deep, oath sworn, can single quotes to dash wash dash it dash off dash with dash bleach dash and dash holy dash water blood. He is the Philadelphia branch of the Vitali family tree, a branch that forked off from the poisonous trunk planted right here in Salem by none other than Eva Vitalis, the Eva, the one who once held a scalpel to Steve Johnson's eye and smiled while doing it. To fully grasp the seismic danger Sami has invited into her life, and by extension, into the lives of everyone she loves, we need to take a long, slow walk backward through the blood-soaked corridors of Vitali family history. Buckle up, this is going to be a masterclass in organized crime, Salem style. The Vitali crime family did not slink into Salem. They exploded onto the scene like a Molotov cocktail through the window of the Brady pub. It was the late 80s, big hair, bigger shoulder pads, and even bigger body counts when the first whispers of the name Vitali began to circulate through the docks. Smuggling? Oh please. The Vitalis were graduate-level criminals. We're talking heroin pipelines that stretched from the poppy fields of Afghanistan to the back alleys of Chicago. Money laundering operations funneled through a chain of pizzerias, because nothing says legitimate business like a wood-fired oven, and a basement full of duffel bags, and a body disposal method so efficient that the Salem River still hasn't coughed up all the evidence. The patriarch of the American branch, Gino Vitaliava's father, was a man who could order a hit with the same casual tone most people used to ask for extra cheese. He wore silk suits the color of fresh blood, and kept a pet tarantula named Lucretia in a crystal terrarium on his desk. Rumor has it the spider dined better than most of his soldiers. Eva herself was no shrinking violet, raised in the family villa outside Napleton Estate surrounded by lemon groves. And Lamunish was groomed from childhood to be the perfect mafia princess, beautiful, lethal, and utterly without remorse. By the time she washed up in Salem, conveniently suffering from a bout of amnesia that fooled exactly no one, she had already orchestrated the disappearance of 3 fiancés, 1 rival boss, and an entire wedding party that had the misfortune of serving Zipar cannoli at her cousin's reception. Eva's reign of terror in Salem is the stuff of legend: the kidnapping of Kayla Brady, the attempted murder of Steve Johnson, the slow-burn psychological torture of half the canvas. She didn't just break hearts, she weaponized them, turning love into a garrote wire that she wrapped around the throats of anyone foolish enough to trust her. And now of Sami Brady, a woman who has survived being buried alive, electrocuted, shot, and emotionally waterboarded by Stefano DiMera himself, has decided to tango with the next generation of that very same family. Dante Vitali is not some reformed chore boy who happened to grow up with the wrong last name. He is the heir apparent to the Philadelphia Syndicate, a man who, according to our meticulously sourced intel whispers from the set, cryptic social media posts from background actors, and one particularly chatty craft services guy who swears he overheard a heated argument in Italian outside the makeup trailer, has been running numbers, rigging underground fights, and overseeing a fleet of import-export trucks that definitely do not contain artisanal olive oil. Danny's rap sheet, if the Salem PD ever bothered to look beyond their donut budget, would read like a greatest hits compilation of RICO violations. Extortion? Check. Racketeering? Double check. Conspiracy to commit murder? Sources say the DA's office in Philly has a file so thick it requires its own filing cabinet. But let's paint the picture in vivid, high-definition color, because this is where the drama turns deliciously dark. Imagine Dante Vitali stepping off a private jet at Salem International Airport. Because commercial flights are for people who don't have go bags full of burner phones. He is tall 6'3", maybe 6'4", built like a Roman statue that moonlighted as a heavyweight boxer. His hair is black as a moonless Mediterranean night, slicked back with just enough product to catch the light when he turns his head. His eyes? The kind of icy gray that makes you feel like you've already lost an argument you didn't know you were having. He dresses like a GQ spread that wandered into a Scorsese film set, tailored charcoal suits, crisp white shirts open at the collar to reveal a crucifix necklace that has probably seen more confessions than Father Lewis, and a pinky ring bearing the Vitali family crest, a snarling wolf clutching a dagger in its teeth. When he smiles, he smiles, it's the smile of a man who knows exactly where the bodies are buried and has the shovel to prove it. Sami meets him, of all places, at the reopened Green Mountain Space, the same spa where Teresa Donovan once tried to drown Melanie Jonas in a mud bath. It's supposed to be a wellness retreat for Sami to find herself after the latest EJ implosion. But we all know Sami plus self-reflection equals a 5-alarm fire. Dante is there under the guise of overseeing security for a high-profile client. Translation: making sure a certain Colombian businessman doesn't end up floating face down. In the eucalyptus steam room, their first encounter is pure electricity. Sami, wrapped in a plush robe that costs more than most people's rent, spills her organic kale smoothie all over Danny's Ferragamo loafers. Any normal man would curse. Dante? He kneels, dabs at the green stain with a monogrammed handkerchief, and murmurs in a voice like aged whiskey, accidents are how the best stories begin, cara mia. Cue the swelling orchestral score, the slow-motion hair flip, and the collective gasp of every viewer who knows this is a one-way ticket to Disasterville. Population: Sami Brady. From there, it's a whirlwind. Secret dinners at a candlelit bistro on the edge of town, where the owner conveniently forgets to charge them. Midnight drives along the coast in Danny's matte black Aston Martin, the kind of car that purrs like a panther and corners like it's on rails. Stolen kisses in the shadow of the Salem Pier, where the fog rolls in thick enough to hide a multitude of sins. Sami is dazzled, intoxicated, a man who listens when she talks, who doesn't flinch when she screams, who looks at her like she is the only woman in a world full of ghosts. And for a moment, we almost believe it too. Almost. Because this is Days of Our Lives, and in Salem, love is just the opening act before the bloodbath. Enter EJ DiMera, stage left, with the force of a Category 5 hurricane. EJ has been through the ringer again. The latest round of corporate espionage at DiMera Enterprises has left him paranoid, sleep-deprived, and sporting a 5 o'clock shadow that could sandwood, when he hears through the DiMera grapevine, which is really just Kristen eavesdropping, on a conference call that Sami has been spotted canoodling with a Vitali. He doesn't just see red, sees the entire spectrum of rage. EJ storms into the DiMera mansion, where Sami is casually unpacking a suspicious-looking gift box containing a single black orchid, and a note that reads, "For the woman who blooms in the dark." EJ snatches the card, reads it, and his voice drops to that lethal DiMera whisper that could curdle milk. "A Vitalis, Samantha? A Vitali? Have you completely taken leave of your senses?" What follows is a masterclass in DiMera Brady verbal warfare. EJ paces like a caged tiger, ticking off Danny's sins on fingers that have signed more shady contracts than most people have signed birthday cards. He's a gangster, Sami. A murderer. His family tree is fertilized with the blood of anyone who dared cross them. Sami, never one to back down from a fight, especially when she's wrong, plants her feet and unleashes a tirade that could peel paint. You're one to talk, EJ. Your father kept human beings in cages. You faked your own death twice. At least Dante is honest about who he is. Oh, honey, That's the moment the audience collectively screams at their televisions. Because honesty and the Vitali family are about as compatible as gasoline and a lit match. But here's where the plot thickens like blood in cold water. Sami, in her impassioned defense, drops a bombshell that silences even EJ for a full 3 seconds in eternity in soap time. Danny's family is still in Italy, EJ. He doesn't even know his cousins in Pennsylvania. He's cut ties. He's starting over. The camera zooms in on EJ's face, and we see the exact moment his brain processes the lie. Because EJ DiMera, for all his flaws, is not an idiot. He has files. He has spies. He has a direct line to Interpol that he pretends is just for business. And he knows now that Dante Vitali is lying through his perfect veneer teeth. Let's peel back the layers of this deception like an onion made of C4. Danny's claim that his family is still in Italy is about as believable as Rafe Hernandez claiming he's over his ex. The Vitali syndicate never left the States. They simply went underground after a particularly bloody turf war in the early 2000s. That left South Philly looking like a war zone. Dante himself was born in a private clinic in Palermo, yes, but he was smuggled back to the US before his first birthday, raised in a fortress-like compound on the outskirts of Atlantic City where the seagulls learned to scatter at the sound of gunfire. His education? A combination of Wharton Business School for the money laundering and the School of Hard Knocks for the actual laundering of bodies. By age 25, Dante was running the family's East Coast fentanyl pipeline. Operations so lucrative it made the DiMera drug trade look like a lemonade stand. So why the lie? Why feed Sami this fairy tale of a man unburdened by his past? The answer is as old as crime itself: leverage. Sami Brady is not just a beautiful woman with a penchant for chaos, she is a walking, talking Swiss bank account of secrets. She has DiMera codes. She has access to EJ's offshore accounts. She knows where the bodies are buried literally in some cases. And most importantly, she has the undying loyalty of half the Salem PD, who would still lay down their lives for St. Sami, despite the fact that she once framed an innocent man for murder, just to win custody of her kids. To a man like Dante, Sami is the ultimate prize, a Trojan horse in designer heels, ready to be wheeled right into the heart of the DiMera empire. But let's not reduce this to mere strategy, because soap operas thrive on the messy, irrational, achingly human heart of the matter. Dante Vitali is not immune to Sami's gravitational pull. There are moments stolen, fragile moments where the mask slips. When Sami laughs at one of his dry, sardonic jokes, Danny's eyes soften in a way that no acting coach could fake. When she falls asleep on his shoulder during a late-night drive, he brushes a strand of hair from her face with a tenderness that belies the calluses on his trigger finger. Is it possible we even ask that Dante is falling in love? That beneath the Armani suits and the calculated charm beats a heart that yearns for something real? Or is this just the longest con of his career? A performance so convincing that even he is starting to believe the lie? The tension builds like a storm over the Salem skyline. EJ, unwilling to let Sami self-destruct again, launches a one-man investigation that would make Batman jealous. He digs through dusty courthouse records, bribes a low-level Vitali soldier with a suitcase full of cash, and a one-way ticket to anywhere but here, and even risks a clandestine meeting with Ava Vitali herself in the bowels of Statesville prison. Ava, ever the opportunist, leans forward in her orange jumpsuit, a smirk playing on her blood-red lips. You wonder on my cousin Dante? Oh, Elvis, you have no idea what you're asking. But for the right price, the scene ends on a freeze frame of EJ's face, a single bead of sweat trickling down his temple as the thunder rolls. Meanwhile, Sami is spiraling in the way only Sami can. She knows something is off. She feels it in the way Danny's phone buzzes at 3 a.m. with encrypted messages, in the way his bodyguards materialize out of thin air whenever they're in public, in the way he deflects every question about his childhood with a charming anecdote that somehow never includes a single verifiable detail. But love, that treacherous beast, has sunk its claws deep. Sami starts justifying, rationalizing, convincing herself that Danny's business meetings are just that, business, that the duffel bag full of cash she accidentally kicked under his bed was startup capital for a nightclub, that the scar on his shoulder blade is from a skiing accident and not, as EJ hisses, a knife won from a botched hit in Newark. The breaking point comes on a rain-soaked night that feels ripped from the pages of a noir novel. Sami, unable to sleep, slips into Danny's penthouse overlooking the Salem River. She's looking for answers that will quiet the gnawing doubt in her gut. What she finds instead is a nightmare in high definition, hidden behind a false panel in Danny's walk-in closet, because every self-respecting mobster has a walk-in closet the size of a small apartment is a wall of horrors. Photographs of DiMera warehouses, blueprints of the mansion, a list of EJ's daily routines down to the minute, And most damning of all, a grainy surveillance photo of Sami herself, asleep in her own bed with a red circle drawn around her head like a target. Her blood runs cold. Her hand shakes so violently she drops the stack of photos, and they scatter across the marble floor like fallen leaves. Dante walks in at that exact moment, barefoot, shirtless, a glass of scotch in one hand and a look on his face that cycles through shock, rage, and something that might be heartbreak in the span of a heartbeat. "Sami," he says, and his voice cracks on her name like ice over a frozen lake. What follows is a confrontation for the ages. Sami screams. Dante pleads. Accusations fly like bullets. "You were using me. I was protecting you from what your own family." The argument spills out onto the balcony, where the rain lashes their faces and the city lights blur into a watercolor of despair. Dante grabs Sami's wrist gently, almost reverently, and for one terrifying moment, we think he might throw her over the railing. Instead, he pulls her close, his forehead resting against hers, and whispers, "I never wanted you to see this. I wanted to keep you clean." But Salem is not a town that rewards cleanliness. It is a town that thrives on filth, on secrets, on the kind of love that leaves scars. And as Danny's phone buzzes insistently on the counter, another encrypted message. Another order from the family he swore he'd left behind, were left with a single, gut-wrenching question. Is Dante Vitali a man trying to escape his past, or is he the past itself? Wearing a handsome face in a tailored suit? The fallout is only beginning. EJ is closing in, armed with enough evidence to bury Dante 6 feet under the legal system. Ava Vitali, sensing an opportunity to reclaim her throne, is pulling strings from behind bars. And Samipura brave. Foolish Sami's caught in the crossfire of a war she didn't even know she was fighting. Will she choose the devil she knows, EJ, with his lies and his manipulations, or the devil who makes her feel alive, Dante, with his danger and his darkness? Will Danny's love prove stronger than his blood oath? Or will the Vitali family close ranks and eliminate the threat to their empire, starting with the woman who holds their heir's heart? We don't have the answers yet. What we do have is a front row seat to the most dangerous love story Salem has ever seen. So grab your popcorn, your tissues, and maybe a rosary. Because when Dante Vitali finally steps fully into the light, the shadows he brings with him will swallow the town whole. This is TV Days Drama Digest, signing off with a warning. In Salem, love is a loaded gun. And Sami Brady just pulled the trigger.